When you pull back your energy, everything changes, not just how she sees you, but how you see yourself. See, when a woman walks away, your first instinct is to chase. You want to explain, fix, prove, and make her see what she's losing. But that's exactly where most men lose their power. They start pouring all their attention, all their emotion, and all their worth into trying to convince someone who's already disconnected. You can't make someone see your value when your actions scream desperation. The truth is, chasing never brings her back. It only pushes her further away. Energy is powerful. What you focus on grows. When you keep focusing on her absence, you make that absence feel even bigger. But when you redirect that same energy inward, the game shifts completely. Pulling back doesn't mean you're being cold or playing games. It means you're protecting your peace, your dignity, and your masculine presence. You're reminding yourself that your energy is valuable, that not everyone deserves your access, and that your attention is a privilege, not a guarantee. When you stop chasing, she starts wondering, the silence starts speaking. She starts asking herself questions she never did before. Why isn't he texting? Why isn't he trying? Has he moved on? Did he stop caring? And that curiosity. That's what makes her feel your absence, because the same energy she used to take for granted suddenly disappears. And when something that was always there goes missing, the human mind starts craving it. But here's where most people get it wrong. They pull back physically but not emotionally. They stop texting, but they're still obsessing, still checking her socials, still waiting for her to notice. That's not pulling back your energy, that's pretending. True detachment is internal. It's when you stop waiting for her reaction. You stop expecting her message, you start living again, you fill your days with purpose, you give your energy to your goals, your fitness, your friends, your peace. And as you do that, something magical happens, your vibe changes. You stop giving off that needy, anxious energy that repels her. Instead, you start radiating confidence, calmness, control. You become unpredictable again, and that unpredictability is what reignites attraction. Because when she can no longer read you, she can no longer control the dynamic. She begins to feel what you once felt, uncertainty. And that's when the emotional balance shifts. It's not about revenge. It's not about showing her you don't care. It's about showing yourself that you can still stand strong without her. That's what real strength looks like, not begging, not pleading, but choosing silence when your ego wants to scream. You take that energy you used to waste trying to fix things and use it to build yourself instead. Because every time you choose peace over panic, you're teaching yourself that love doesn't mean losing yourself. And eventually, she'll feel it. Maybe not today, maybe not next week, but one day when she's alone, scrolling through her phone, comparing every new guy to the version of you she once knew, she'll notice. She'll remember the way you made her feel. She'll remember how much access she had to you and how she no longer does. And in that silence, she'll start missing you, not because of what you said, but because of what you stopped giving. Self-transformation is the real attraction. You can't beg your way back into someone's heart, but you can become someone so evolved, so grounded, that they can't help but see what they lost. Most people think attraction is about looks, money, or status, but real attraction is energy. It's the silent confidence that comes from knowing who you are, what you deserve, and where you're going. It's the glow that comes when you stop chasing validation and start building value. When she walked away, something inside you probably broke your confidence, your peace, maybe even your sense of worth. But here's the truth. Breakups don't destroy you, they expose you. They show you the parts of yourself you've been neglecting, the areas you've been avoiding. When a woman leaves, she doesn't just leave because she stopped loving you. She leaves because the version of you she once admired stopped showing up. So, instead of asking, how do I get her back? Start asking, how do I get me back? Because the version of you that was confident, focused, passionate, that's the one she was drawn to. Transformation doesn't mean changing for her, it means evolving for you. Start by fixing what's within your control. Get your body right, train hard, eat clean, sleep well, not because you want her to see it, but because it makes you feel strong again. Then upgrade your mind, read, learn, grow, develop new skills. Start feeding your mind the same way you used to feed your emotions. Because when your mind gets sharper, your vision gets clearer, and when your vision gets clearer, your energy shifts. You see, women are emotional beings. They feel energy more than they see effort. You can't fake growth. You can post 100 quotes, 1,000 gym stories, but if your energy is still desperate, she'll feel it. Real transformation is silent. It's when you stop explaining your worth and start embodying it. It's when you no longer need her to believe in you because you already believe in yourself. And when that shift happens, everything changes. You start walking differently, calm, confident, grounded. You stop reacting emotionally to her silence because you've made peace with it. You start attracting better things, better people, and better experiences because you've become a better man. And ironically, that's exactly when she starts noticing again. Because women always sense when the energy they once had access to has evolved beyond them. She'll look at you and see someone she recognizes but can't fully reach anymore, and that distance, that mystery, that glow of transformation, it pulls her in. Not because you chased her, but because you outgrew her. You became the version of yourself that she always wanted you to be, but this time you did it without her. And let me be clear, transformation isn't about proving her wrong. It's about proving yourself right. It's about realizing that your worth never depended on her approval. The more you evolve, the less you crave validation. You no longer wait for her message, her apology, or her recognition, because you've already given yourself something far more valuable, self-respect. That's when real attraction happens, not the kind that fades when attention fades, but the kind that grows with presence, power, and purpose. You become magnetic, not because you're trying to be noticed, but because you're finally aligned with who you are. And when that happens, whether she comes back or not doesn't even matter anymore, because by then you'll realize the real comeback was never hers. It was yours. Detachment is power, and when you learn to detach, you take back control of everything that used to control you. Most people think love is about holding on tighter, but real love is about having the strength to let go when holding on starts hurting you. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop letting your emotions run your life. You stop allowing someone else's actions to dictate your peace. The moment you detach, you start to see things clearly, not through emotion, but through truth. When you were attached, you gave her power without even realizing it. You made her the center of your world, the source of your happiness, the reason you felt complete. That kind of attachment always creates imbalance because you start needing her instead of choosing her. And when you need someone, you'll tolerate things you shouldn't, you'll chase when you should walk away, and you'll beg for attention instead of commanding respect. But when you detach, that dynamic shifts instantly. You no longer need her to validate your worth because you've started to rebuild it within yourself. Detachment is not about indifference, it's about control. It's emotional discipline. It's the ability to say, I want you, but I don't need you. That sentence alone changes everything. Because when you stop reacting out of fear of losing someone, you start acting from a place of strength. You start setting boundaries. You start focusing on what's healthy for your mind instead of what feeds your ego. You stop chasing closure and start giving yourself clarity. And something interesting happens when you detach. The same energy that once made her feel secure now makes her uneasy. She can feel the difference. Your texts become fewer, your tone becomes calmer, your vibe becomes more composed. You're no longer chasing, you're no longer begging, you're no longer trying to convince her to see your value. You're simply living it, and that shift in energy is powerful. It creates curiosity, it creates tension. It makes her question the control she once had, because when you were emotionally attached, she could read you like an open book. She knew your every move, every reaction, every weakness, but when you detach, you become unreadable. You're no longer reacting the way you used to. She can't predict you anymore, and that unpredictability makes her wonder if she still matters. That's when the dynamic reverses. She starts to feel the same anxiety you once felt. She starts to miss your energy, your presence, your attention. She starts asking herself, did he stop caring? Did I lose him for good? But here's the beauty when you truly detach. You don't do it to get her back. You do it to get asterisk yourself asterisk back. You're not playing games. You're protecting your peace. You're not ignoring her to manipulate. You're choosing silence to heal. Because when you detach, you start realizing how much power you gave away. You start remembering who you were before you lost yourself in trying to keep her. You start feeling lighter, stronger, freer. That's when the magic happens, not when she comes back, but when you stop waiting for her to. Because detachment isn't about losing love, it's about gaining balance. You can still care deeply, but from a place of calm, not chaos. You can still wish her well, but without needing her presence to feel whole. And ironically, that's when she feels your absence the most. When she senses that your peace no longer depends on her attention, when she realizes that you're no longer emotionally bound to her. Because the moment you detach, the energy flips. The one who used to chase becomes the one who's chased. The one who begged for validation becomes the one who's valued. That's the quiet power of detachment. It doesn't shout, it doesn't demand, it doesn't beg. It simply stands still in its strength. And when you reach that point, you'll understand that love was never supposed to cost you your peace, and the moment you stop giving away that peace, you win. When you start focusing on your purpose instead of your past, everything changes, not just how she sees you, but how life begins to respond to you. The reason most people stay stuck after losing someone is because they keep replaying the story in their head. They keep asking, why did she leave? What did I do wrong? What if I'd done things differently? But here's the truth, the past can't be fixed. It can only be learned from. You can't move forward while your mind is trapped in yesterday. The moment you stop chasing closure and start chasing growth, you shift from being a victim of your story to the author of a new one. When you make your purpose the center of your energy, you stop making her the center of your identity. That's where true healing begins, because obsession fades when direction returns. You wake up with a mission again, not to impress, not to prove, but to become. You start investing in yourself the way you once invested in her, and that investment pays off in every area of your life, your career, your health, your mindset, your peace. You start realizing that your time and energy are currencies, and you can either spend them chasing someone who's gone or building something that lasts. Focusing on purpose doesn't mean ignoring your emotions, it means channeling them. Every ounce of pain, confusion, or anger, pour it into progress. Go harder in the gym, work on your craft, build your discipline. Let the silence that used to haunt you become the space where you rebuild yourself. The same energy that once went into texting, overthinking, and waiting, redirect it into creating. Because when your life starts to move forward, everything that's meant for you starts catching up. And something powerful happens when you shift your focus like that. Your energy becomes magnetic again. You stop giving off that vibe of loss and start radiating purpose. You walk differently, talk differently, think differently. You stop looking for someone to complete you because you've started to complete yourself. That's what draws people, not your words, not your looks, but your direction. When you have a purpose, you give off a different kind of energy, the kind that commands respect instead of seeking attention. And here's the truth: women are naturally drawn to purpose driven men because purpose creates stability. It creates focus. It creates a sense of certainty that's hard to find in a world full of confusion. When you're deeply connected to what you're building, you stop chasing temporary validation. You start choosing long-term peace. And that shift makes you powerful again. When she sees you moving forward, not posting out of pain, not pretending, but genuinely glowing from growth, it hits differently. Because she'll remember the version of you that once needed her to feel whole, and then she'll see the version of you that found wholeness within himself. That realization makes her feel something she didn't expect, regret. She'll start wondering how she lost a man who didn't lose himself when she left. But here's the thing: by the time she realizes it, you'll already be too busy chasing your purpose to care. Because purpose heals what people break. It gives meaning to the pain, direction to the chaos, and strength to the silence. It teaches you that losing someone doesn't mean losing yourself. It's just life redirecting your focus back to where it was always supposed to be, you. When you live for your purpose, peace becomes your new addiction. You stop needing closure because growth asterisk is asterisk closure. You stop needing her to come back because you've already come back to yourself. And that's when everything starts falling into place, not because you chased anyone, but because you finally stopped running from yourself. Forgiveness is the final step, the one most people avoid. Yet it's the most freeing. You can move on, you can level up, you can act like you don't care, but if you're still holding bitterness inside you, she still owns space in your mind. Forgiveness isn't about saying what she did was okay, it's about saying, asterisk, I won't let it control me anymore. Asterisk, because every time you replay the pain, every time you revisit the betrayal, you're feeding the very thing that broke you. You can't truly rise while you're still chained to resentment. When someone hurts you, they take a piece of your peace, and if you never forgive, you keep that wound open not for them, but for yourself. It keeps you emotionally stuck, unable to move forward. Forgiveness is what closes that wound. It's what allows you to look back without flinching. You don't have to forget what happened, you just have to stop letting it define you, because the truth is, pain only transforms you when you stop fighting it and start learning from it. A lot of people confuse forgiveness with reconciliation. They think forgiving means letting the person back in. It doesn't. Forgiveness is for you, not them. It's the decision to release the emotional weight that's been holding you down. It's the moment you say, asterisk, I'm done carrying what's not mine anymore. Asterisk because she might have left, she might have hurt you, but the part that's keeping you in pain now, that's not her doing anymore. That's you holding on, and the moment you release it, you start to breathe differently. Forgiveness is strength, not softness. It's the highest form of emotional maturity. It takes courage to look at someone who broke your heart and say, "Thank you for the lesson." Because that lesson shaped you, sharpened you, and built a version of you that pain could no longer destroy. Forgiveness is choosing peace over pride. It's choosing to heal instead of staying angry. And when you do that, you take back your power. Because nothing disarms pain like peace. The most powerful version of you isn't the one who gets revenge, it's the one who no longer needs it. You stop needing apologies. You stop waiting for them to understand. You stop needing to prove anything. You start realizing that peace is louder than any explanation you could ever give. Forgiveness turns the pain into wisdom and the experience into strength. It teaches you empathy, not for what they did, but for what you allowed yourself to feel and overcome. And here's the thing, when you forgive, you change your energy. You stop vibrating at bitterness and start vibrating at freedom. That's when life starts opening new doors, because the universe doesn't reward hate, it rewards healing. When your heart is clean, your blessings flow. When your mind is clear, your focus returns. Forgiveness doesn't just heal your past, it empowers your future. She might come back, she might not, but either way, you'll be okay because forgiveness means you no longer need the outcome to find closure. You've already given yourself what you were waiting for, peace. And when you reach that state, you become untouchable. Not because you're cold, but because you're healed. That's the real power, to smile without bitterness, to remember without pain, and to move forward without hate. Because when you forgive, you don't just release her, you release yourself. You stop being the man who was broken by what happened, and you become the man who rose above it. And that's how you win, not by getting her back, but by getting your soul back. Silence is a language of strength, and when you master it, you start to command respect without saying a single word. Most people underestimate the power of silence. They think silence means weakness, avoidance, or indifference. But silence, when it comes from a place of self-control, is one of the most powerful responses you can ever give. Because silence doesn't beg, it doesn't explain, it doesn't chase, it simply lets your absence speak louder than your words ever could. When she leaves, the natural instinct is to reach out, to explain, to ask why, to remind her of everything you shared. You want to be heard, understood, validated, but here's the truth. No amount of talking can make someone see what they've already decided to overlook. The more you try to explain, the more they tune out. The more you chase, the less they listen. Silence, on the other hand, forces reflection. It creates space. It gives both you and her time to actually feel the absence. When you go silent, she notices. Not immediately, but eventually. At first, she may think you've moved on too fast or that you don't care. But as days turn into weeks and your energy stays consistent, calm, detached, grounded, her curiosity starts to build. Silence makes people question their assumptions. It makes them wonder what changed, what shifted, what caused you to finally stop trying. Because the same noise she once complained about, your calls, your texts, your efforts, now becomes the silence she starts missing. But silence isn't just about her, it's about you. It's the period where you stop talking to others and start listening to yourself. When you're silent, you hear your thoughts more clearly. You start noticing what your emotions have been trying to tell you all along. You begin to understand your own patterns, how much of your pain came not from her actions, but from your reactions. Silence gives you perspective. It slows down the noise of heartbreak long enough for wisdom to enter. And here's the beautiful part: silence builds mystery. When you stop explaining yourself, you become unpredictable again. She can no longer read your every move. She doesn't know what you're feeling, thinking, or planning. That uncertainty pulls at her emotions because human nature fears losing control, and silence removes her control over your attention. Suddenly, she's the one thinking, analyzing, wondering. The roles begin to reverse. Silence also protects your dignity. It keeps you from saying things you'll regret or from begging for what no longer serves you. Every time you choose silence instead of reaction, you strengthen your emotional discipline. You show yourself that you can feel pain without falling apart. That's real strength, to be calm when your heart is in chaos, to say nothing when your ego wants to scream, to stay composed when everything inside you wants to break. And eventually, that silence becomes your healing space. You start enjoying your own company. You stop needing to be understood by the one who misunderstood you the most. You find peace not in explanations, but in acceptance. And ironically, that peace, that quiet, centered energy, is what starts drawing her back. Because silence creates curiosity, and curiosity creates connection. But here's the truth most people miss: silence isn't a strategy to get her back, it's a path to get yourself back. You go silent not to punish, but to protect, not to manipulate, but to move on with grace, because when you stop trying to be heard by her, you finally start hearing yourself. You begin to rebuild the inner voice that once got drowned in all the noise of needing her. That's the power of silence. It turns pain into presence, chaos into clarity, loss into leverage. You stop reacting and start radiating calm. You stop chasing and start attracting, and one day she'll feel that silence like a mirror reflecting back everything she took for granted. But by then, your silence won't be about her anymore. It'll be about peace, because you'll finally realize silence was never empty. It was full of strength, healing, and truth.